Almost a year ago to the day, I posted my complete Kiss studio album ranking list for 2023. Some may say that was my definitive list, but now, 2024, I'm a little older, I'm a little wiser, I'm starting to get hair in really funny places. And my list has changed, believe it or not. Next on Heels and Quads.
Join the debate, bring your own cup. Hard rockin' kings with a full plate. Heels and quads, you can't run late.
Welcome back, Heels and Quads Media here on YouTube. I'm Tommy, and I'm back with another Kiss video. I thought about holding this off until Kissmas, but instead, I've decided to do it a year later. And if you liked that video, and a lot of you did, that's our most viewed video here on YouTube. And if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below, give me your Kiss studio album ranking list, including the solo albums from 1978. So what made me decide to do this now instead of Kissmas is I've got a new venture, a new all Kiss channel coming with Brant from In My Head and AJ from Zetro75 here on YouTube. And we are about to start recording that in the first episode this week, and that channel is called Critical Kiss. And what it is, this channel is going to be going through the albums, big events, home videos, maybe even songs down the line, member lineups, whatever, but all pertaining to if it was critical to history. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll leave a link below so you can subscribe to that channel, because the first episode should be coming up this weekend. At time of recording, September 23rd, 2024. Now, this is the 2024 edition. I may do this on Heels and Quads every year, but this most likely will be one of my last Kiss videos. Maybe not. On this channel. So I just wanted to go through, update my list, because it, like I said, it has changed from last year. So let's get into it. If you want a more detailed review from me on each album and why they are ranked where they are, that's kind of why the rankings changed. Certain albums have moved up 1 to 3 spots maybe, and a lot of that is because what I maybe didn't like, I've come to enjoy more. That's the case in a couple of these albums. Some of them stayed the same, mostly the bottom and the top, but that big gap in the middle, there's a lot of flip-flopping going around. So let's kick it off. At number 24, Kiss's final studio album, Monster. Like most, I'm just not really a fan of the final lineup of Kiss. It's not the players, it's not even really the makeup, it's just, I don't know, it just feels like they tried to do too much. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. It's just something that rubs me the wrong way, and it's fine. So, staying the same, number 24, Monster. 23, also staying the same, but I have visual aids this time because I've done some big-time collecting lately. The 1978 solo album from Peter Criss. I like it as just an album, standalone, but ranking in the Kiss catalog, it comes in at number 23. Just, it's a good listen, but you have to maybe not look at the cover. That's all. But yeah, so stays the same, 23, Peter Criss. Number 22, this album was just put up for sale on Kiss Online as a reissue with a bunch of extra goodies, and I still don't have this one on vinyl, and the original pressings are kind of ridiculous for vinyls. And it's funny because for as many people that say they don't like this album, it's like, but you own it and you're willing to pay $200 for vinyl. I'm not going to do that. I'll wait, and hopefully maybe a year, 2 years, I'll find a copy that's not so expensive, or not so much expensive, but in my budget. I have kids, so they come first, obviously. So I have to kind of play around with maybe a more cheaper option. But staying the same at number 22 again is Hot in the Shade. Not, I mean, same reason as last year. It's a glorified demo, too many songs. They were really pushing for the CD age, and it's just too little good versus a lot bad, or not as good. Mediocre. We'll go with mediocre. Down 2 spots. Number 21. Last year I had the Gene Simmons 78 solo album at 21. That has changed. But moving down 2 spots in its place is Sonic Boom. And I like this album more than I did when it was initially released. However, I just don't listen to it very often, and I've tried, and I've taken the last week or so to kind of refine my list, and it's just, I honestly listen to the Gene Simmons solo album more than Sonic Boom. And not by much, but Sonic Boom is also another vinyl that is really hard to get, and if you do find a copy, it's super expensive. So 21, Sonic Boom, down 2 spots. At number 20, previously at 21, from 1978, the Gene Simmons solo album. Let me think of how to say this. This album's just weird. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not bad, but it's not good. And it's like, there's a lot going on in it. But I do see why certain people do enjoy it. So for just kind of like the solo albums just had their anniversary, so you listen to all 4 in one day, you kind of see the charm in it a little bit more. So maybe that's why it's moved up a spot on my list this year, because it just had the anniversary. But it's kind of a fun listen if you just go like this and don't look at it. But the covers are so cool for the solo albums, it's kind of hard to cover them up. So yeah, at number 20, up a spot from last year, Gene Simmons solo album. Also moving up a spot from last year, number 19. It was number 20 last year. From 1998, this album, just as of recording, celebrated the 26th anniversary yesterday. It's from 1998, the reunion Kiss album, Psycho Circus. I've always just kind of like, I don't hate this album. I don't love this album, but it's not a bad listen, depending on your mood, and it's just kind of there. It was cool. It was so cool when it came out, the cover, and just the feeling of a new Kiss album, Kiss with makeup. But yeah, I mean, it's just there. This is a weird album because I like it and I do listen to it. I know I listen to it more than Psycho Circus. I definitely listen to it more than all the others. And this is an album that I recommend to a lot of people. And I said that last year on the ranking. Because, you know, if you're friends with people who are into more harder rock or even heavy metal or grunge even, you're going to recommend Carnival of Souls. And I think that's why it's not like bottom tier, but it's also just kind of like lower mid tier. It's not anything that as a Kiss fan is like super like earwormy, or you don't catch yourself singing these songs, but yet when you listen to it, you're like, oh, I do like that album. So it goes down from 17 to 18, but not a big change. And 17 and 18, next year, 2025's edition of my Kiss rankings could be totally different. So at 18, Carnival of Souls. Number 17, this moved up 1 spot. Last year it was at number 18. This year at number 17. And I'll tell you why. Because I got it on vinyl. This album is different to me on vinyl than owning it on CD or listen to it on a streaming service. Something about this album spoke to me. Maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe I don't have to have hard rock, heavy metal all the time, classic rock. But this is just kind of, it's fun when you listen to the whole thing. You're not skipping around. You just put the record on and you listen to it. And halfway through, you flip it over and you listen to the second side and you get through it and you're like, hey, that wasn't as bad as I used to think it was, or that's not as bad as people say it is. Music from the Elder is a decent album. It's not awful. So up a spot from 18 to 17, Music from the Elder, Kiss. Down 2 spots, which is surprising because I really like these next 2 albums and they both moved down 2 spots. So down from number 14 to 16, 1984, Animalize. I don't know why. I guess it's just, well, I do know why. It's because albums that were lower moved up. But I just haven't been listening to this album this year. And, you know, with the anniversary of this, the 40th anniversary of this, and the merch and the repress and everything, it didn't do it for me. I have my original copy, my promo copy, and this is it. I don't need it any other way. I don't listen to it very much on streaming, maybe once in a while, but not very often. But at number 16, down 2 spots, 1984's Animalize. Also down 2 spots, or as I refer to it, the Animalize sister album from 1985, Asylum. And this album also just celebrated an anniversary. I didn't listen to this one that much this year. I don't know why, and I like Asylum a lot, and I listen to it quite a bit. But maybe it's just that weird. Maybe it's just a weird spot I'm in that I'm just not listening to as much hair bands. And I think that's honestly why I've pushed my Bon Jovi rankings back so much, because I just haven't really had a desire to listen to hair metal or glam metal or whatever. But Kiss is a little bit different. I'm not going to make any excuses about it. I just haven't listened to it as much, so it got bumped down to number 15. Also down 2 spots, which is surprising because I just got this not too long ago on vinyl, and I listened to it 3 or 4 times when I got it. 1983, Lick It Up. And this is another one. I've found that collecting vinyl, maybe it's just because when you first get it in the mail or you find it in a store, once you get it home and you put it on, you listen to the whole thing, and you might move on, cook dinner, do something else, you go to sleep, you wake up, you kind of want to hear it one more time before you put it up and it starts collecting dust. But I listened to this probably 3 or 4 times over the first weekend that I had it on vinyl not too long ago. But then it just kind of like, it still didn't do as much for me as the ones that moved up, that are coming up and the next 2 spots. So again, down 2 spots this year, 1983's Lick It Up. Alright, up 3 spots this year. This is my most recent vinyl acquisition from 1980. Up 3 from 16 to 13, 1980's Unmasked. Which is weird because I always said I wasn't a huge fan of Poppy Kiss, even though I love the Dynasty era outfits. But for some reason, again, maybe it's just owning it on vinyl for the first time, but this album is really fun to listen to. And Poppy Kiss has grown on me, maybe because I'm on the almost 40 trend, but 1980's Unmasked is just a really fun Kiss album. And maybe, you know, we all know Peter doesn't play on it. It's 3/4 of Kiss, and half the time they're not all playing on tracks together, but it's still fun. And like I've said before, in my Ace 10,000 volts video, Ace has a really great sensibility for pop. This one I'm gonna get hate for. Also up 3 spots from number 15, 1987's Crazy Nights, which I feel like last year, even as much as I do listen to this album and enjoy it, I feel like I ranked it low last year. So that's one of the reasons why it's moved up. Also, I don't want to like crap on this album as much as other people do. Paul's vocals on it are incredible. The playing on it's fun. Gene has some decent moments on it, even though, you know, the last couple of albums before Crazy Nights wasn't really involved all that much. Bruce gets songwriting credits. He plays his ass off. Eric Carr, of course, always awesome. But this, I mean, call it Bon Jovi Kiss or whatever, but this album is great. I love it. And I listened to this probably, I would say almost the most out of any Kiss album this year. Just really big fan of it. And I don't care if people don't like it or not. I like it. And I think it's a good album. So up 3 spots again to number 12, Crazy Nights. Down 2 spots, which is strange because I really like this album. I've always liked this album since it came out. And that is Revenge, which, I mean, it's still the highest ranked non-makeup album on my list, but it's moved down 2 spots. And I know a couple of reasons why, but I'll get to that when I get to it. This album is another one. I got it. I listened to it probably 2-3 times in a row, and then I was just kind of like, eh. And even like, it's weird because even when I have the urge to listen to something, unless I really, really want to listen to it, I don't. I don't know how to explain it, but like, this album, I'm like, I want to listen to Kiss Revenge. But then I'm like, I'd rather listen to this. So I don't know why that is, but that sticks out when I look at this album cover, because I think about it and then want to listen to it and then find something else. So I think that's why it's dropped down 2 spots from number 9 to number 11 this year. Up 1 spot. 1979's Dynasty. This is a weird one. I know people call it the disco album or the Kisco album, but I've found myself enjoying the non-hits. And by hits, obviously, I Was Made for Loving You, which hit 1 billion streams on Spotify this year. I consider Sure Know Something a hit because they played it on MTV Unplugged, and, you know, they played it on the Symphony. And that's about it. And it had a video. So I consider that a Kiss hit. But everything else, like, I know I said I didn't like X-Ray Eyes. Now I like X-Ray Eyes. So in a year's time, I've completely changed my perspective on a song. Everything else I still like. Dirty Living I like a lot more than I did. And Ace's contributions to this album are just great. Again, that pop sensibility, he's got a knack for it. Even if you didn't like 10,000 Volts, I thought it was good. Is it a Steve Brown record? Maybe, but it says Ace Frehley on the cover, and he's the one singing, kinda. The top 10, number 9, down 1 spot, which is really weird, and there was a little flip-flopperooski going on here. At number 9, 1978 solo album, Ace Frehley. I did a little flip-flop, and remember, if you remember last year, if you watched last year's ranking, if you watched my original ranking of the albums, you'll know that I had the hardest time picking between Ace and Paul. I'm a Paul Stanley guy, always have been. I'm also an Ace Frehley guy. So that was difficult, and I just found myself listening to this less lately than Paul Stanley's. So that's the only reason why. It's still great, and you can still say it's the best Kiss solo album. I'm not going to argue with you on it because it's great. And as you see, it could go day to day, month to month, year to year on where I would rank the solo albums. So again, number 9, down 1 spot, 1978, Ace Frehley. Up 2 spots, 1978's Paul Stanley. I did the episode of fixing the Kiss albums with Brant from In My Head, also my co-host for Critical Kiss, link in the description. And we really like, I mean, I knew that I was doing that for like a month before I actually did it, before we recorded it. So I listened to this album a lot, and that's been almost a year ago. But even since then, I've find myself coming back to this more and more than I did even when I was a kid. And I just really appreciate this album a lot more than I ever have. And also, the more you listen to it, the more you realize how much of a Kiss album this is, and how much Paul Stanley's personal sound is Kiss. So, up 2 spots, number 8, Paul Stanley. Down 1 spot to number 7. I'm going to get hate for this one too, but number 7, down 1 spot, 1976 Destroyer. I get it. I understand why people love this album. I understand why this is what Kiss thinks is their definitive album. I understand everything. I know the songs on this are incredible. I know. It's just my preference. If you hate it, comment. Tell me how much I'm a buffoon and how much you hate me for putting Destroyer at number 7 instead of 1. I understand. I like Bob Ezrin's producing. It's just my preference. And maybe it's just because I've heard all these songs at nauseum, because they played all these songs on every single tour since 1976. I get it. I still like Flaming Youth. I still like Sweet Pain. King of the Nighttime World is one of my favorite Kiss songs. But this, for me, as an album, just doesn't speak to me like it did when I was a kid. And that's okay. And if you love it, you love it. That's cool. I still have it. I have shirts of Destroyer, and I wear them. I love this album. I do, but it's just not even in my top 5, and it wasn't even in my top 5 last year. And a lot of it is just, I want a raw sounding Kiss if it's gonna be that top tier, upper echelon Kiss. So again, down 1 spot to number 7, 1976 Destroyer. I don't think anybody would disagree with the list from here on out. Obviously number 1, I think people would, but as far as everything else, I don't think it would change. Number 6, moving up 1 spot. Another one that I really think I liked more as a teenager than kind of like 20s to early 30s. I was just kind of over it, and a lot of it was because Rock and Roll Night's on it. But moving up 1 spot because I love everything else on it. Number 6, Dress to Kill. This album, it's a quick hitter, 30 minutes, in and out, bing bong boom, out the door, 30 minutes. Kiss at their finest. She, Ladies in Waiting, Come On and Love Me, Room Service, Two Timer, Love Her All I Can. Like, this album rules. And I think I put Getaway as my least favorite maybe last year, and I like that even more than I did then. So that's why I'm not doing the favorite track, least favorite track, honorable mention. I've already done it, and I feel like everything changes. Like, everybody's taste changes over time, and I say that in every video, I feel like. But this year it's really weird how much in that middle. This would be it's top 6, but that's like the end of the middle, like 5, top, bottom, and then everything else is middle. This is the almost like elite, but I mean this is critical. Spoiler alert for episode 3. But yeah, I mean, I love it. And I love that the person that I bought this from on eBay, like, obviously he even said it's not an original hype sticker. It's just a scan. But, I mean, that's just something cool to throw in on a record. But yeah, number 6, up 1 spot, Dress to Kill. No change here. And not for any reason. I mean, I still listen to this. As much as I did last year. Number 5, Rock and Roll Over. Great album. Mr. Speed's still my favorite song on it. I like Love 'Em Leave 'Em. A lot of people don't like that song. I still think Hard Luck Woman's a great power ballad, if you want to call it a power ballad. Um, Still love Making Love. Like, this album's great. Calling Dr. Love. I love the sound of it. I love that it was recorded on a stage in a theater. I think that gives this album so much dynamically, and it gives it that raw feeling that I was talking about on Destroyer. This album to me is the Kiss album of '76. Just my opinion. Number 4, down one spot to number 4, the debut album. Maybe it's because I'm about to cover this album coming up in a few days on Critical Kiss. I've listened to this album a ton over the last year. 50th anniversary this year. Love this record. Love it, love it, love it. So many critical Kiss moments. So many critical Kiss songs. I don't want to talk about it too much right now. But it's just down one, because I keep coming back to this next album. Alright, up one. Also from 1974, about to celebrate its 50th anniversary, and we're going to get a repress of it. 1974's Hotter Than Hell. I keep coming back to this album because it's great. It's raw, it's gritty, it's dirty, it's murky, it's ugly, it's lack of production, it's raw, it's hungry Kiss, and the songs are great. And I know a lot of people just don't like it because of the production. I think it's great. I think it makes it more charming and gives the replayability of it that much more. Alright, no changes here. The final two. 1982's Creatures of the Night. The production, the heaviness, the drums, everything about this album, everything around this time period is so interesting. This to me is, it's getting its love now, but still, I still think it's underrated, even though it's getting its flowers now. 1982's Creatures of the Night, number 2, still this year, probably forever. I don't think my 2 and 1 are ever going to change, but we'll see. And finally, at number 1, no change, 1977's Love Gun. This album to me is Kiss at their highest. Obviously, the live albums, Alive 1, Alive 2, all that, I get it. I love them too. And I listen to them. And Alive 2 is great, and Alive's great. I like Alive 3 too. But this to me is something about this cover, the feeling, the power of what Kiss was in 1977, even though I wasn't even born yet for another 10 years. But this to me will always be Kiss. And the title track, my favorite Kiss song of all time, one of my favorite overall songs of all time. And I Stole Your Love, still think that's the best Kiss opening track ever, and it should have opened every concert ever because it's awesome. So, number 1, again this year, Love Gun, 1977. No change. Not as long and in-depth as last year's video, but if you want to see that, you can always go watch that 2023 edition where I go more in detail, but it's still about half the time. I just wanted to do a little update because I think this is a fun, like, recurring thing for me, and I'm not gonna overdo it like every month or every 6 months even, but once a year it seems fair. And I feel like you can gauge where your music has changed or evolved a little more in a year. So if you like this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, of course, leave a comment down below, let me know your rankings. Have your rankings changed over the years? And of course, in the description is a link to the new Kiss channel co-starring me and Brant and AJ, Critical Kiss, starting this weekend. Until then, tell your friends, tell your enemies, and I'll see you next time.